Welcome, my name is Oliver. I am a robot, but enough about me. This isn't about me, this is about Saul, and Richard, and video games, and the universe. So come with us, or more specifically, with them, enter the save state, save state, save state, save state, save state.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of the Save State Gaming Podcast.
Oh, we're off to a flying start. Yes, thank you all for joining us. I'm absolutely knackered because of my real job is the second busiest time of the year, so I am shattered. So I'm apologising right now if at some point I start to slur or mumble as I do when I'm tired. I'm going to try my best to put my 10 grand's worth of 3 years worth of voice lessons from acting degree to good use here, and I'm going to try and keep on top of it. Aren't we, Saul?
We are, yeah. We both have similar degrees, don't we? Actually, we both did drama degrees, and look at us now, still recording podcasts in my parents' bedroom. But anyway, everything all right apart from the chronic exhaustion?
Apart from that chronic exhaustion, I feel like I can't breathe. I've been getting chest pains. I'm basically physically and mentally spent. But I'm happy to be here talking about video games and all things that are nice in life.
This is good. But what is best in life? The open steppe, fleet horse, falcons at your wrist, and the wind in your hair. Wrong! Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good. That is good.
So, what have you been playing this week? Anything worth mentioning?
Worth mentioning? No, I will see you later. I've been playing, I've been doing the old playing the free games, so you don't have to. I've been playing Bored to Death, which is a free game on the old PlayStation.
You just call it... It's Drawn to Death, not Bored to Death.
We're talking about, what was the game called again?
Drawn to Death. Is Bored to Death an apt description of the game, or...?
Maybe not really. I reckon this game has got a hard time, but starting from the beginning, you've probably heard about this game. The game is called...
Drawn to Death.
Thank you, Drawn to Death. The game's called Drawn to Death, and I've been playing it. It's free on the PlayStation Plus. We mentioned it probably a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like it. It's a 2 versus 2 or 4 player arena shooter in the vein of Quake 3, back on the old Dreamcast. I'm talking about the Dreamcast again. What's going on? But yeah, it's fun. I like it. It's a free game, but the main hook, the main crux of this game is its art style. It has a very, very sort of specific, very identifiable art style in that it's all sort of hand doodles that you'd find in a classroom in a
notebook, right?
Like a notebook, like a 15-year-old high school
exactly.
student's notebook.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for saving the car wreck of that sentence. But yeah, so it's all like hand drawn, and the art style is quite reminiscent of, well, the person who draw this is either going to end up in 2 ways. They're going to be 2 types of people. They're going to be, number one, they grew up well-adjusted, they start to work in a tattoo studio, they're nice, they're well-respected, they get the Jaeger bombs in, everyone loves them. Or they're going to grow up and it's the kind of person that the neighbour says things like, oh, who, Bob? Well, yeah, he's a bit of an oddball, but he's harmless, right? I can't believe what he did to that milkman. So it's going to be one of those 2 things. But yeah, so the art style is basically the crux and the main drawing power of this game. But other than that, it's fairly simple. There's a certain sense of humour to it, a certain je ne sais quoi. Like, you do things like, instead of picking up a rocket launcher, you'll pick up the JRPG launcher, which basically is you picking up a Super Nintendo and firing like old school pixels, and then like you get one-hit kills with little Final Fantasy style black mages. So yeah, I've been quite enjoying it. I've played it for a couple of hours, and I might play it again. I've done a Let's Play video of it, so please do go to Rich Comes Across on my YouTube channel and check that out. To be fair though, I am starting to think that I am going to play it again purely for the fact that I won my last game.
Wow.
And that
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That one small victory has completely changed the way I felt about the game, because I wasn't having that much of a good time with it before that. And then I won, and I was like, yeah, me and this game were clicking.
Yeah.
Me and this game are going to go out for coffee.
Always helps.
Yeah, so that's good. But it's been getting a bit of an unfair ride from a lot of gaming outlets out there.
Yeah, the main criticisms I hear of the game is that it's a bit clunky, a bit too heavy.
It is. You feel that way.
And apart from the art style, that it doesn't really do anything particularly that original.
That is completely fair to say. a lot of places have called it a great wasted opportunity, and I can kind of see that. But I think because I went in thinking that in the first place, I went in with the bar set kind of low, so I was pleasantly surprised. I had a good time with it. If I had to review it, I'd probably give it 7- or 6+ out of 10, which doesn't sound great, but I can have fun with a 6 out of 10 game.
Anything else you've been playing this week apart from Drawn to Death?
Yeah, another free game here. This time on the old Xbox One, the old neglected child that's kept under the stairs and not fed. Is a free game called Rise, Son of Rome, which was actually a launch title released 2014, 13, whatever. My memory isn't the greatest right now, so staying topical as I like to do. Yeah, it's not the greatest game. You've probably heard about this all before, so perhaps I will keep this one brief. But I've never played the game before. It's got a really, really bizarre level design. It feels like it was actually constructed inside the level designer for Time Splitters 2 for the GameCube. That is an odd bit of criticism, but I think it's fairly apt. So it's very, very, very linear, very corridor-driven. Not very a lot of open world, open areas to explore. Not a lot of that, but there is one point of this game that I really did enjoy, and that is the fighting style. It's very, very Batman Arkham. Very much like that to a T. You've played it all before.
Yeah.
Press this button to do that, and it's all about timing and matching the button prompts. That in itself doesn't sound spectacular, but what I like about it is there's a certain mechanic where you've got to press a button it's the D-pad. If you press up on the D-pad, okay, when you're linking a combo together, if you get like a 5+ hit combo, then if you press up on the D-pad, you get more health. So, but if you press left on the D-pad, when you hit your combo, you get more experience. If you press right on the D-pad, your attacks stack and do more damage. So there's a really nice mechanic there that I really like, and I've never really experienced before, and I was having a lot of fun with that. That is the one and only good thing about the game, though. Everything else about it kind of sucks. I'm having fun with it, but yeah, don't go out of your way to play it, unless of course you got games with gold, then look at you.
From what I remember about hearing about it, it was much more of like a showcase for, you know, the powers of the Xbox One and what they were able to do on the new hardware.
At the time that might have been true, but now it's 4 years after the fact, and it shows you how fast the industry is moving.
Yeah.
Because now it doesn't look all that impressive even, and I'm sure that I would have been blown away by the time, but no, not so much so. It's almost like when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on the PlayStation 3. I wasn't as impressed as everybody else, but when it came out on the PlayStation 4, mind blown. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen, that first person mode. However, there's been about a year or two since I last played the remastered version for the PlayStation 4, or the up-resed version for the PlayStation 4, and I put it on again recently, and it isn't as mind-blowing. In the 1.5 years since I last played it, things have already moved on so much, with like Horizon and the way that looks and how beautiful that is. And it just goes to show you, I mean, in a year or two, how a game's going to look, how beautiful things are going to be.
Especially with like Xbox Scorpio on the horizon, right? And the kind of power that's going to be touting. It's genuinely incredible. Like to look back and 20 years, not even that far, 10 years, and see what's kind of developed in the games industry from there. Not just in terms of graphics, but just in terms of design and like smart game design. But there's a lot to be said about, when artists work under constraints that they generally produce their most creative work.
Exactly. Would Vincent van Gogh have been the genius that he was if he wasn't such a miserable piece of shit?
If he had a PC instead of a Mega Drive.
Exactly. He'd have just played solitaire all the time and he'd have got a job down the local bank, and we wouldn't have any of these lovely paintings of sunflowers.
That might be true, yeah. I think that it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because creativity, is fostered in different ways. I don't think is the right word, because I think that, obviously as technology expands, you get to do much more incredible things. Like games from yesteryear were generally confined to one or two very basic mechanics that were refined incredibly well.
And it was in the refining of those simple mechanics where you found, creativity, using the bare minimumest of tools to create magic. Now it's like you've got everything, and it's like you don't know where to start.
Discover the incredible power of the Atari 520 ST. With the new Atari Discovery Pack, you can learn computer programming. You can discover talents you never knew you had. And create and play games as exciting as in any arcade. The new Atari Discovery Pack for less than £300.
I'm very excited about Prey, actually, which
Oh,
comes
really?
out
Very shortly.
May, like beginning of May, I think.
It's not
couple of
very far
weeks.
away. Oh, yeah, it's a couple of weeks away. Did you have any experience with the past games?
Well, yeah, so I played the original Prey on the PC. I liked it, you know, it wasn't anything special.
I have no experience with Prey at all. I know nothing about it, so tell me what Prey is.
Well, to be fair, actually, the new Prey is absolutely nothing at all like the originals. So I think we can kind of discard those for now in terms of this discussion. But from what I've seen of the new Prey, it's a Bethesda game, so, you know, it's going to be a big game. It's
Surely not open world, though.
no, I imagine it might be actually, or more of like,
Oh, really?
like, you know, the kind of Tomb Raider style where you have like hub worlds that you can kind of jump between, that kind of thing. But there's a lot of really cool stuff at play, like,
Metroidvania.
yeah, that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of BioShock. Like, you have
I
the
was going to say, that's
elemental
what I
kind
was
of
getting.
combat where you can, you know, zap a puddle to kill an enemy, or, you know, that kind of stuff. Elemental combat.
What's the story here, Prey? I still really don't understand what Prey is all about.
I'm not so sure about the story.
Okay. Is it something to do with a Native American guy, or did I dream this? I remember that the fact that this is coming out is sort of a big deal to people who are fans of the series, because the first one was like it was a cult hit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Then
Yeah.
there was like a big long gap, and then it was like Prey 2 is coming out, and people were this is what we want, Prey 2. We've been asking for this for ages, and then there was radio silence.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then
Yeah, so
years later, it got cancelled.
yeah, it got cancelled and reworked into what we're now getting in a couple of weeks, which is, again, you know, brilliant. I think the way that Bethesda have done this, really short kind of turnaround announcement, 6 months and it's out. And I think it's hitting at a really good time where people have probably just about finishing up with Zelda, maybe ready to move on to something else. So yeah, really excited about Prey. I played a little bit of Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Really enjoying what I played so far. Again, just more kind of mindless Nazi killing, but in a really good way. If there isn't, actually, there probably isn't a bad way to kill Nazis.
Those misunderstood Nazis, they really do get a bad ride, don't they?
They were actually, Hitler was actually a very sensitive man, believe it or
Of course
not.
he was a painter.
Yeah.
If only Hitler had a better art teacher, the world would be a very different place. But then again, to be fair, if that was true, me and you wouldn't be born then, so...
Well, maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll find out some of Hitler's art as I'm travelling through Castle Wolfenstein. I don't know. We'll see what we find in Hitler's lair. Played a bit of Unravel. A little bit disappointed. I was kind of looking forward to that game.
I thought it sucked.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How much did you play of it?
Not a lot. I played, I got the demo, and it was one of those games where purely by the art style alone, I was like, yes, this looks like my jam. I want to get involved with this. Basically, you play as a little yarn boy, wandering through like some homely little cottage, and it looks very. It looks and feels like. Do you remember Toy Story for the Mega Drive?
Oh yeah, of course.
It looks and feels sort of like that.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison, actually, because like I remember even that feeling quite like weighted and heavy in some ways, and yeah, I get definitely the same kind of feeling from Unravel in that it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, as Toy Story was, right, for the time, the graphics
For the time it was.
were
But
great.
Perhaps that feeling of weight and the way it controls, the way it even looks, hasn't aged well at
Yeah.
all. Because when I was playing it, the same feelings that I had as a child with this Toy Story game, that being of wonder, and I really liked that game. And now I'm playing it, and I played this demo for about 5-10 minutes, and I was like, whoa, this sucks balls. And then basically had to delete it from the hard drive.
Yeah, the thing that struck me first about Unravel was I felt that the camera was a little bit too zoomed in. I kind of wanted the camera to come back out just a little bit to give a bit more of
Yeah, you're
environment,
right,
that kind of thing. Maybe that's just, you know, an odd kind of complaint from me, but it's kind of the first thing that struck me about the game. But I played it for about half an hour, and to be honest, I'm probably not going to go back to it because I've got way too much of Persona 5 to go. But I also played a bit of Bridge Constructor.
What is Bridge Constructor, Saul? Tell me all about it.
Well, yeah. I think I'm right in saying that it's an iOS game or started off as a mobile game.
You've already lost me.
Yeah.
See you later.
It's a bit of mindless fun, like it's exactly what it says on the tin, right? So you have to build a bridge out of certain materials, and then you have to get lorries or cars across it. And if it's all about physics, basically, it's a little 2D physics game.
All right. It sounds.
It's a little bit of a time waster.
Yeah, I was about to say it sounds like a time sink song.
Yeah, exactly it.
But then again, isn't our hobby basically just one long time sink? And then again, isn't life just one
well,
long
that's it.
time
We
sink?
have to decide very carefully where we're going to spend our time, and Bridge Constructor it's taken a few hours of my time, but probably won't take that much more, to be honest.
As long as it keeps you off the hardcore drugs, Saul.
And moving on to the news this week, quite a few things I'd like to talk about this week. Starting off, we've talked about the drug culture amongst Nintendo executives a couple of times, I believe, already on this podcast.
Yeah, it's rampant. Disclaimer, none of this is true. Please don't sue us.
But it does seem to have reared its ugly head again this week in the form of Nintendo announcing the NES Classic and Famicom mini editions are going to be discontinued. I got a few thoughts about this.
I know, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I was discussing this with you a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And I was asking you why they were doing this, and you had this very informed and intelligent and collected opinion about how scarcity creates, it creates interest in the marketplace,
Yeah.
which is completely true. I, however, had a feeling in my soul, in my little chuddy bones, that is not the reason why Nintendo were doing it. I thought you were giving them too much fucking credit. And here we are 2 weeks later. And was I wrong, Sol? Was I wrong?
You weren't. It's bonkers, man. It's absolutely crazy the amount of money that
This is a product that people want to spend their money on. People want to buy a product that Nintendo has left millions of dollars, of pounds, billions of yen on the table.
But the thing is that they seem to admit it, right? They release statements saying that we understand there has been an incredible demand for this product, and then 2 weeks later they release another one saying we're going to discontinue the product. Like, there has to be there's something that we're not hearing here. I'm convinced of it. There's a deeper story to
what
this.
you've just said is an oxymoronic statement.
Yeah.
So you said they seem to understand, and then you've given this incredibly contradictory statement where there must be something. Do you have a theory on this?
I mean, the only thing I can think of, right, is that there must be a business reason to it. And I can't believe that it's a licensing issue because Nintendo, own all of these properties anyway. But with the only thing I can think of is that with the Nintendo Switch doing very, very well, which we'll get onto again in a few minutes with the rest of the news, that they're worried that the NES Classic is going to detract from sales from things like, the online store where people can also buy these classic games.
Right, okay. So, you reckon it's going to take money out of the Switch's pocket?
Yeah, I mean, just Nintendo's pocket, It's all going into the same, very deep, fat Japanese pocket somewhere, but...
Then why are they doing it then?
Because...
Maybe because it makes the Switch look better.
I think, for example, 60 games for $60, which is 30 games for $60, which is basically what the NES Classic is, right?
Okay, yeah.
The games aren't going to be $2 on the Switch, are they? They're going to be more like $5 a piece, right? And so that's $3 that they lose on every sale, right there.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm with you, yeah.
So I think that's basically the only reason, apart from huge hardcore drug addiction problems that are
Meth will
prevalent.
make you do some really, really strange things.
Yeah.
I've got a much more whimsical reason for it.
Yeah.
I reckon because Nintendo are so goddamn rich, and you don't understand how rich Nintendo are. They're incredibly, incredibly wealthy. They can more or less afford to do anything they want, really. And I reckon that they make these really bizarre business decisions, such as creating this product in the NES Mini that everybody wants, and creating scarcity so only one out of 10 people who want it can get it. By doing that, it creates this folklore of what Nintendo are. They're like a legendary company,
Like a myth.
like a myth.
Yeah.
They're like a myth. Like having one of these products is a special thing because to them it isn't about money anymore. It's about creating this legend. That and hoovering up excessive amounts of crack.
Next piece of news this week is a little bit of a follow-up and a bit of an update from a story we've been covering for the last couple of weeks. Something that I'd like to coin Brashgate. And this is the story about the UK games website Brash Games and the horrible, horrible shit that they've been doing to their employees. Basically, of interest, Jim Sterling did quite an interesting video about the whole thing about Brash, and I enjoy a lot of Jim Sterling's work. I don't always agree with what he does, but I think he's very, very good at what he does nevertheless. But again, it came out that Brash are now kind of involved in gambling websites and all this kind of stuff. And...
Yeah, but basically what happened, the story that we touched upon last week has evolved somewhat and continues to evolve on nearly a daily basis. The guy, do we have his name? What was the guy?
David Ryan, I believe.
David Ryan. We hope. We'll find out. The guy from Brash Games, basically, it turns out that a lot of links to his reviews and stuff have been written by a pseudonym, or at least what we believe is a pseudonym. And when you click on that, it seems to be coming up with links to gambling websites, trying to shoehorn links to gambling websites into his content. Now you're supposed to put this sort of advertisement up front and in plain sight, which he hasn't done. And so there's a lot of rumours going around that whoever this pseudonym is actually the guy who owns, who has linked all these websites and has this scrupulous advertising for this casino and all that, this online casino, this online gambling. Is actually the proprietor of Brash Games. And as soon as this was pointed out on the internet, it disappeared. The page completely disappeared.
That's incredible.
The pseudonym changed to something completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a story that's continuing to get crazier and crazier. Basically, this guy is up to a lot of very, very dodgy dealings. And Jim Sterling, to his credit, the guy who wrote the interview that you did last week, that you pointed out last week to us, how he actually slagged Brash Games off and their practices off in a review that he wrote and published on Brash Games. Yeah. That guy has actually been employed basically by Jim Sterling. Jim Sterling has given him a platform on thejimquisition.com to write an expose on Brash Games, and he's also, just to kick Brash Games in the box, he's also paid him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's the whole argument to be made about people, especially amateur journalists, people trying to find a gateway into the business, not getting paid for their content. And you've got quite strong feelings on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, I also write on a voluntary basis, you know. I got into the website that I write for, which is GameSpew, with the knowledge, knowing that I wasn't going to be paid. So I think that, like I said, I enjoy a lot of the stuff that Jim Sterling does, but I think that in this particular video, he basically taints all games websites in a similar size to Brash Games with the same paintbrush, and I don't think that's quite fair. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about the guys that I work for. They are extremely communicative, which Brash Games weren't. They are excellent editors, and they check all my work, which Brash Games didn't. They give me a lot of feedback on my writing, which Brash Games didn't. You know, so I think that you have to judge every case on an individual basis. And the whole argument about, look, a lot of people work for free, right? I've had to do...
Not this guy!
If you really want to, sometimes to get to where you want to be, you have to work for free.
Sure,
so I've done free teaching work, I've done free bar work, free games journalism work. Like, you have to be able to get that experience. And although a lot of these kind of companies will say that we're giving you exposure, you know, which you wouldn't be able to get if you were just writing by yourself, like, that for me isn't the reason that I really do it. Like, it helps, but the main reason that I do it is because I get feedback from established editors.
And you grow as a games journalist.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
exactly. I've got better. I've got better.
Exactly.
So, all I can really say about that is just look, if you, whatever it is, whatever kind of job role you want to get into, you might have to do it for free, but then don't complain about it when you know that you're not going to get paid for it. Do you know what I mean?
Unless you're a prostitute, then make sure he pays you for crying out loud.
Something I think I'd like you to talk a little bit about is some dodgy dealings with Gearbox and an advertisement company, I guess, called G2A. Is that right?
Yeah, G2A basically this website where people can sell their keys on the internet, which basically is like codes,
like a marketplace, right?
Yeah, you can download games, and it's like but apparently there's been a lot of shady, underhanded, fraudulent practices, like people just hawking off fake keys, and people not being able to get refunds, and just loads of really, really dodgy dealings. So if you just scratch away really paper thin at the surface, it's easy to find that this is just a bullshit company, and one with a bad reputation, one of ill repute. The sort of company that you wouldn't expect one of the biggest, richest gaming publishers in the world to be getting into bed with. Yeah. I mean, it blows my mind that they've done this. So basically, Gearbox, who are the publishers of several games that you probably know about, such as Borderlands, blah blah blah, are in the news again because, as we talked about last week, they've got a new game out. Well, new old game. They've re-released a PlayStation 3 game called
Bulletstorm.
Bulletstorm, that was the one. but they've got into bed with G2. What was it? What was the
G2A is the name of the company.
G2A, yeah, they've got into bed with this company, and I don't really understand why. They don't really need the help promoting, but the thing is, they didn't seem to know about the shady business practices until people started to point out to them, and yeah, like for example, Total Biscuit is a YouTube commentator who pointed out to them about all the fraudulent business practices and said, how can you be in bed with such a company? And Gearbox, the cheeky bastards, said, all right, if this is true, then prove it. Basically making Total Biscuit do the fucking work for them. So Total Biscuit happily obliged, and he had these years and years and years worth of like fact checked just information, and he emailed it all across to them, and so the executives from Gearbox opened that email and went, right, yeah. So then basically within like 24 hours of that happening, they've sent a message to G2A saying, listen, you need to change your ideas. You buck up, mate. Buck your ideas up, mate. You've got 24 hours, is what they originally did say to them. You've got 24 hours to change your business practices, or else we're out of here, which is something that is impossible. But apparently they've taken it on board, and they are trying to change their ways, which all sounds like bullshit to me. But how did they get into this position in the first place? How you're telling me that this global powerhouse didn't know about this? There's nobody in the thousands of people who work for them who didn't know what me and you know?
Yeah, it's a weird one, right? Like Gearbox to me seemed like a smart company. They make smart decisions, but then this might just be a misstep, or I don't know. Maybe again there was something else going on. Maybe they had struck up a really good deal. Yeah,
it's all about the dollar bill, y'all.
Of course it is. It always is, man.
It's all about making that paper.
So it's a weird one, but I think credit to Gearbox for listening to the fans and to the community and sorting it out.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like the deal has been completely called off yet. Like, my understanding is that they gave G2A some dates, like, okay, within 30 days you have to do this, within 60 days you have to do this. And so we'll see what happens. I'm sure we've not heard the last of this story, and I'm sure we'll have an update for you in a couple of weeks. And finally, as you sometimes get on the news, I'd like to call this Kim Jong-un Watch.
Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un. It's Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un. Watch!
What's he done now?
Well, you know, he's posturing. I've got these nice weapons here that I could maybe shoot over at you guys. And
I bet he's hung as fuck, this guy.
Well,
must be
apparently
always
Korean men, not so much.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, not that I know. Anyway.
Not that you know. Not about all those times you spent in those Taiwanese bathhouses.
Yeah.
But what?
I would say that the current threat level, let's call it the threat level, 3 out of 10. He's gesturing a little bit, showing his nuclear warheads here and there.
Flaccid. He's got a semi, basically.
Well, it's not even really a semi, is it?
Really a
I
semi.
think it could get a lot harder, a lot worse.
Okay.
In the coming weeks. But we'll see what happens and see what he does with his nuclear warheads. If you don't hear from us next week, then it might be due to nuclear annihilation, or we might just not have recorded. But
yeah, this guy just needs computer games in his life. He needs lovers in a dangerous space time.
He does.
Just to relax,
he
just
needs
to learn some.
Katamari.
No, he doesn't. Can you imagine a giant Kim Jong-un rolling around, sucking up South Korea, then all the other countries getting bigger and bigger?
It's like it would be the perfect super weapon for him, wouldn't it?
It would. Mecha King Jong-il. King. Whatever. I don't care about his name. He's an asshole.
Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un. It's Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-un. Watch!
Like most other home computers, the Commodore 64 is small and very agile. Unlike most other home computers, it has an enormous 64K memory. This means you can use more exciting and advanced software programs and get so much more enjoyment out of your home computer. The Commodore 64. Remember, it costs less than £230. And don't forget, it has the enormous memory.
On to question of the week. This is one that you came up with. This one. So yes, you did. Yeah. Do you remember that?
No.
No. You need to.
I don't know where I am. I'm so tired.
Who am I?
Who am I? What was this? No, I do. I'm being playful. Yes, I do remember. So, what was the question of the week?
You wanted to talk about gaming backlog,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yes.
I mean, I think this is something that all long-term gamers suffer from. You see, I know I absconded from the term hardcore there because we'll talk about that as well later. But something that people that have been playing games for a long time suffer from, and it's the backlog, right?
Sure.
Games that you never got to play that you kind of always wanted to get back to at some point, but then never seem to have the time.
And they just build up, don't they?
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you end up crying at night.
You get older and you get more responsibilities, and then you get less time to play games.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were a teenager and you had your summer holidays from school, and you only had 1 or 2 games that you managed to get with your pocket money or your paper money or from your bar mitzvah. And you thought, when I get older, I will have all the money in the world, and I will buy all of these games, and I will not have to make the tough choices that come with being a young gamer. But then you realise you get older, and then sort of adult life takes
over,
and it's all about working until you're too tired and you come home and you don't have the energy to take part. I never had the energy to take part sometimes when I come home. I need to just sit there and be entertained at. So then you get all these backlogs of games, and it's gotten worse recently because
there's been some good games.
Well, there's been some amazing games. You don't believe how deep
well we have it.
Backlog runs. Seriously, about 5 years ago, it was as bad as like 20 games, or like 20 games that I had throughout my life that I hadn't played. Now it's much worse because I've got an Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and whatever the last Nintendo console was. We don't really talk about it anymore, do we? But the point is, I get free games because I subscribe to these consoles. So every month I'm getting like 12 free games a month spread across those consoles, maybe even more than that. And it's built up now. And my combined libraries of those things, I've got about 400 games.
But like, there's a difference.
That's an unclimbable mountain.
There's a difference between having a game, like a free game, for example, and then for me having a game that I really feel like I should go back and play in terms of like, maybe this game did something really cool. Like, I don't go back and play every PlayStation Plus game that I play.
You wouldn't.
That I get.
Because as we say, your time is important to you.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why like my backlog is like, I feel like I do pretty well in the AAA space. Like most AAA games that I want to play, like I'll usually bite the bullet and pay the 50 quid or whatever and just buy it quite a lot of the time.
That's the buzz of buying something new.
Yeah, exactly, and being part of that conversation, right, is when it's first out.
Yeah, exactly. The water cooler conversation.
Yeah. Like in terms of my backlog, I do have a few games. Like Final Fantasy 15 is something I really do want to get back to. Like,
it's not worth it, man.
Nah, you see.
But see, it's itching away. I can see the itch in your eye. You're being itched by this thing.
Because I didn't get to that stage yet. I only played it for about maybe 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then something else came along, and so I do want to give it a bit more time. Neo, man, I never played Neo.
Yeah, I got burned by Neo.
I
understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's, when you're saying about going back and playing all the good ones that you missed. Yeah. That's what I meant, man. It's like, for example, I own a copy of Suikoden 2. And I've never played it, and I'm sure that if I sat down and let myself play that, I'd probably fall completely like in love with this game, and it'd probably be a 10 out of 10. And this is coming from a time when I really want to buy Persona 5, but I can't afford to, and I've got this craving to play a JRPG. I own on my PlayStation 3 one of the renowned, finest, greatest JRPGs of all time, and I've not put it on.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't know where to start, because my backlog it drowns me, man. So you just forget about it, then you move on, and then you end up forgetting that you've got all these gems.
I think like Suikoden 2 is a hard one, man, because that's a big investment as well. Like as JRPGs tend to be. Like, if I'm gonna start and really get my teeth stuck into a game like that, I'd quite like playing it mobile. Like, so I played Suikoden 2 on the Vita, for example, and I've started that game maybe 3 times and put it down and come back to it.
Suikoden 2?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Alright.
From what I mean, it's a JRPG through and through. Like from the
That's
start.
exactly what I want. Did you ever play Suikoden 1?
No, I have it.
So they carry on. They actually carry on from each other.
Really?
Not in a very strict manner, but they are set in the same world.
Right.
And there's allusions to the previous games. And there's characters who carry on, and your actual save data carries across as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'd definitely be one on my backlog as well. Any other games you can think of that you really...
Oh my god, there's so many. Even goddamn Payday 2 at one point I really wanted to play. I own a free copy of that now on my Xbox 360 and my Xbox One. But one of my backlog games that I've actually come close to playing was what was that? Death Stuff, what was it called? The Legend of Zelda rip-off where you play as Death.
Oh yeah.
What was it called? Darksiders, that was it.
Okay.
I own Darksiders 1 and Darksiders 2. I've heard they're both great.
Yeah.
And I've got them and I can play them. It's just a simple matter of just
Finding the time, innit?
not just finding the time to turn the fucking thing on. Because as I've told you before, there are times when I sit at home and I stare at the wall, and there are so many games that I could play that I would love, that I would genuinely enjoy if I could just find the energy to put them on.
Yeah.
There are so many Stephen King books I haven't read. There's so much wrestling that I want to catch up on. But because of all this, it all bombards me at once, and I don't know where to start. And that is when I start staring at the wall. Seriously, is it, or is this just like a symptom
No,
of
I
depression?
I totally get that. Like, it's, you know, what some people call like the fear of missing
But-
out. That like something you're too scared that one.
What's the name for that again?
FOMO. FOMO.
FOMO.
I think it's.
What did you just call me?
A mofo.
I assure you, sir. I am the most. Never mind.
So yeah, like everybody has that, you know, that nagging feeling of not wanting to let something go and to be able to experience everything firsthand, and it's not possible, man. It's not possible. I mean, just to go through another couple of games on my backlog, stuff like Abzu, I'd like to get round to play.
I loved Abzu. I played it in one sitting. It's one of those one sitting games.
Perfect.
I love maybe is a strong word for it. No, yeah, it's very good. It's not as good as Journey or Inside, but it's a magical game.
Yeah. Again, that's what I'm in the mood for at the moment. Is like playing Persona most nights, and I want something just to be able to break it up with, just
small
short
experience.
Exactly. Yakuza
Sometimes-
0. I'd like to go
Do
play.
you own Yokozuna Zero?
Yokozuna 0.
That's a very different game. Yakuza. Do you own Yakuza 0?
No, but I would definitely.
It's not your backlog then, is it? Because a backlog, by what I mean by backlog, is games that
You have to
already
own
actually
it.
have to own it. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
That's
Right,
what
I'll
backlog is
scrub
about.
that one out. Okay.
But don't get me wrong. I suppose there is a sort of a deeper layer to a backlog, and these are games that you never actually ended up buying.
Yeah.
And they're only going to be like £5 down at CX in about
Well, that's
3 or 4
it. Yeah,
years.
that's it. Well, that's the one good thing about a backlog, right? Is that you can usually pick up these games for a lot cheaper.
To a certain point, have you ever noticed this really bizarre ebb and flow of all the games where they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and then they get to a certain point they're way more expensive, and they get more expensive.
Yeah, it's a pisser. The only other couple of games really I can think of would be like Oxenfree, which I saw.
I really like that
Yeah,
game.
I think I know I'd really like that game, and I know it's not that long. either, and,
Oxenfree,
like,
basically, because I realise we do a lot of this. We talk about things not explain what they are. Oxenfree is a game where you play as 4 high school kids who go on a merry jaunt to an abandoned island. Basically, just go and get stoned, and then there's like ghosts and things, and it's all about time travel and manipulation of time and reality. And it's not really a game because the gameplay mechanics are all wrapped up in storytelling and the manipulation of the flow of the story. But because of that, it's a short game. It only takes about 5 hours to complete, and inspires multiple playthroughs. But it's all about the story and making different choices and seeing what happens. And it was a really, really nice, fun indie experience that you should all go check out.
Yeah, I think in a similar vein to Oxenfree, like Life is Strange would be the only other game that I can think of that comes to mind. Again, like looking at my backlog, a lot of these games, like Oxenfree, Life is Strange, Abzu, a lot
These
of
are all
these
great games.
are quite small,
Short
like
experiences.
narrative-driven experiences, and I feel that because there has been so many huge, big RPGs and open-world games lately, that these kind of smaller little chunks have kind of fallen by the wayside. But I will get back to them. I promise you that, Judd. Any other games in your backlog that you think you'll ever get?
Too many to mention, man. There's like 400 of them. And
How long
also
do you think
thinking
it would
about-
actually take you, like in terms of?
It's never going to happen because
Yeah,
the backlog. It's like have you ever heard of this nano machine thing that's going to end the world, where it's going to reproduce faster than we can kill it? My backlog is going to grow faster than I can.
Like a
ever
Katamari.
complete. Like a Katamari, like a Kim Jong-un Katamari. But on the subject of backlog, I've got the original Bioshock on backlog, and I've got it there, downloaded. But I still think I'm going to buy the remastered edition anyway, so I'm still going to buy £20 for a game I already own.
Yeah,
That's a bit weird, isn't it?
I don't think it's as weird as you think it is. I think a lot of people do it. Like I have 2 copies of The Last of Us.
So do I.
2 copies of Grand Theft Auto.
I don't know where the first one
But
went.
you know what I mean? Like I think
I've got 3 copies of that game because one of them went missing. Son of a bitch. Yeah, that's Super Mario Galaxy 2, and one of my Wii remotes went missing when we went to that cottage in Fireway. Sorry, indigestion. Yeah, we went on holiday together. Me, him, and a bunch of the other Dichinkos.
I didn't.
You were though, weren't you?
Nope.
I'm really sad. Whatever. At this point, I'm not 100% convinced that you're actually the real Saul.
Taking a part-time job at Nintendo by any chance at the moment?
No, but I am heavily indulging in the crack. It's entirely possible that you might not actually exist, that you might be a figment of my imagination. This entire thing has just been one very convincing and rather talented, I must say, voice illusion by myself.
Really, just thank you very much, actually, for people that have been listening to this.
Yeah.
And for all the feedback we've been getting.
For all
It's
the
been great.
feedback. I've really enjoyed your feedback, Scotty. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thank you, Scotty.
So once again, thank you very much. My name's Saul. You can find me on Twitter at mynameissaul. Also with me this week,
Richard Francis Hornby.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Welcome